We are now going to show you how to install the daughter boards, which contain all the electronics to operate the system, and how to install those daughter boards in a system to get it up and running. We're going to start with the driver boards. Now, they come shipped without any fuses or daughter boards installed. So first we're going to install the fuse, which will provide 48 volt power to the driver boards. After we get the fuse installed, we're going to take the PWM daughter board. PWM stands for pulse width modulation. Forget that, it's a way to dim the lights and turn them off and on. And this is the little board that handles all the electronics to control our drivers, turn them off and on, and dim them. On the back of each of those boards, it tells you which driver board it plugs into. So we're now going to take that and plug it in. If you will notice, there is a little black line behind the plug. That black line corresponds to the printed circuit board. So you put the circuit board on the side that has the black line. Next, you find board number 2, PWM board number 2, and you plug it in. Now we'll install the driver boards. There is no order to these boards. You can put any driver board in any position. So we will just go ahead and place the driver board. That's driver board 1 for the first 8 lights. Driver board 2 is in. Driver board 3. Driver board 4. We are going to show you how to plug in the daughter boards or all the electronics for the daylight harvesting, motion, and switch boards. We're doing this using a test burn-in system where we check all of our boards out and burn them in for long periods of time before they're ever installed in a system and shipped out. We're going to start by plugging in the daughter board to the daylight harvesting daughter board. This is what the daughter board looks like for daylight harvesting. It has adjustments where you can set the light level desired for each room that's on daylight harvesting. On the board, you will notice a black line that shows which side of the plug the board is situated to. So we take the daylight harvesting daughter board, put it on the correct side, and plug it in. The daylight harvesting board is now complete. Next, we take the motion daughter board and we're going to plug it in. And it says switch motion daughter board. We use exactly the same daughter boards for switch and motion. The only real difference is which side of the plug the board goes in on. On the motion boards, it goes in on the left side. On the switch boards, it goes in on the right side. Also, you will notice a 6-position dip switch. That's for dual inline switches. And this is where we set the address so the Raspberry Pi and Arduino can talk to each board separately. We will take those boards, make sure we have the correct one because it's addressed for motion board 1, and we'll plug that into motion board 1. Then we take the one marked motion 2 and we plug it into motion 2. We continue with the switch boards. They look identical, they're just addressed different, and we have the number. We always number our boards left to right, so this would be switchboard 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have the board on this side. We line it up, plug it in. These have keyed slots, so you can't get off a position and burn it out. So you just line those up, plug it in, it takes very little time, and you can see in the event one of these ever has to be changed, it's probably the easiest system imaginable to service. We have now put all the electronics on the daylight harvesting, the motion boards, and the switch boards. This board is the main controller that runs our entire lighting system. This is a Raspberry Pi computer, and this is an Arduino Mega controller. The Raspberry Pi comes pre-installed on the board and we bolt it down solid. It also ships with the Arduino Mega plugged in. Into the Raspberry Pi, you will have to plug in your SD card, and that plugs in right at the top, and it'll have your name probably and serial number on it. The other item you will have to plug in is the thumb drive, which comes with your system, and it'll have all your program that tells the system which switch turns on which lights. Also in the system, you have a cable that connects the Raspberry Pi to the Arduino Mega, and if you have it, you can plug in a keyboard, a mouse, and then this cable is for the internet. Now, we'll plug in the thumb drive. The next thing we have to plug in is the level shift board. Now, if you can read down there, it says level shift, and it has a black line right between the Arduino Mega and the connector. And the level shift board is what takes the signal from the Raspberry Pi and translates it so that it can talk to the Mega and back and forth. The Raspberry Pi talks at 3.3 volts, the Mega talks at 5. So we have to switch the voltages back and forth so they can understand each other. So we will go ahead and plug in the level shift board. Next, because our system is so large, we have had to add memory to the system. The memory plugs in right down here, and again the black line is on top of the connector. So what we're going to do is take the memory board and plug it in like that. We have one more daughter board to make our system complete, and that is a regulator daughter board that takes 12 volts supplied to this and converts it to 5 volts to run the electronics. And you line it up with the black line, plug it in. Now you have all the electronics in, ready to run the system. If you're running a keyboard, mouse, and a monitor, we can plug in the monitor at this time, and we're ready to go.